Hey there, my name is Brian Williams, and today I'm going to be your virtual tour guide for the marvelous, breathtaking St. Peter's Basilica located in the glorious city of Rome. St. Peter's Basilica is one of the world's holiest Catholic shrines, visited by thousands of pilgrims and tourists every month. Built upon the tomb of St. Peter, this splendid church is a magnificent must-see for all visitors of Rome. The history behind the creation of St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome is almost amazing as the building itself. After the first basilica was knocked down, it took over 100 years to rebuild, and some of the most famous architects of the time contributed to its design. The site of St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome was originally the Circus of Nero and a cemetery. St. Peter, believed to have been one of the 12 apostles and the first ever pope, was martyred under the reign of Emperor Nero in approximately 64 AD. In 306 AD, Emperor Constantine became the first Christian emperor of Rome. He decided to erect a basilica on Vatican Hill at the supposed location of St. Peter's tomb. According to the Catholic Church, the original church on this site, built by Constantine during the 4th century, was selected such that the altar of the church was over the tomb of St. Peter, the apostle of Jesus who had been crucified in the Circus of Nero, which was once built just outside the bounds of this church. Construction of the current church built over the church built by Constantine began on April 18, 1506 and was completed on November 18, 1626. It is regarded as one of the greatest works of architecture of its age and is associated with famous artists such as Michelangelo and Bernini. Situated on Vatican Hill, St. Peter's Basilica dominates the skyline of Rome and attracts millions of visitors from all around the world. It has a capacity of over 60,000 people, covers 22,300 square meters, and is one of the world's largest churches. Globally, there are over 1,400 minor basilicas. However, St. Peter's Basilica is one of only 4 major basilicas in the world. St. Peter's Basilica achieved its basilica status due to being built on the site where St. Peter was buried in 64 AD. When you first arrive at the front of St. Peter's Basilica, you will stare in awe at the jaw-dropping sight. At the top of the facade of St. Peter's Basilica, you will instantly notice 2 clocks and several sculptures. The clocks were created to replace Bernini's bell towers, which had been torn down due to insufficient support. The left clock shows Rome time, and the one on the right shows European mean time. The next thing you're probably noticing are the exquisite statues on the top of the basilica. The statues are Christ the Redeemer, St. John the Baptist, and 11 apostles. The statues are in order from left to right, starting with St. Thaddeus, then St. Matthew, St. Philip, St. Thomas, St. James the Greater, St. John the Baptist, the Redeemer, St. Andrew, St. John the Evangelist, St. James the Lesser, St. Bartholomew, St. Simeon, and St. Matthias. Now at this point during the tour, you're probably very eager to go inside and check it out. The main doors to the basilica is called the Holy Door. It is locked and not usable. It is opened by the Pope only on Christmas Eve every 25 years. Above the central doorway is Bernini's Passé au Face Mass. The Gospel of John records that in a post-mortem appearance to his disciples as a good shepherd, Christ assigned Peter the task of nurturing his mystical flock. The episode was universally interpreted as the institution of the church with Peter and his successors at its head. This work thus illustrates the historical and divine sanction for Christianity and the authority of the popes. When you walk through the door into the church, you'll see that it is absolutely huge. The babies at the base of the pillar along the main corridor are similar in size to you. The gold lettering above the columns is 7 feet tall. The fancy bronze canopy, called the baldacchino, way down the nave above the main altar is 7 stories tall. But much of the decoration of the church is designed to make the church seem a bit smaller and just a little bit more accessible. For example, the first column on the right has a 15-foot tall statue of St. Teresa of Jesus at the bottom. But the statue of Madeleine Sophie Barat at the top of the column is 22 feet tall, making her feel closer than she really is. Just have a look at those fancy Corinthian capitals on either side of her, simply immaculate. Now, as we go ahead and make our way over to the fantastic altar way down toward the front of the church, as we begin to approach, you'll see that the great dome designed by Michelangelo is directly above that bronze 66-foot tall baldacchino designed and built by Bernini from 1623 to 1634. The top of the dome is 448 feet above the floor of the basilica, and it is a great experience to take an elevator to the top of the dome where you can enjoy breathtaking views of St. Peter's Square and Rome. Directly under the dome and the baldacchino is the floor of the burial site of St. Peter. Under the altar are the remains of Pope St. John Paul II, which were moved from the chapel in 2011. John Paul was the second longest serving pope, from October 16, 1978 until April 2, 2005. Upon his death, the Pope was first buried in the grottos under St. Peter's. Surrounding the main altar are 4 huge pillars which support the dome. In the top half of those pillars are marble spiral columns which stood over the tomb of St. Peter and the altar in Constantine's original Basilica of St. Peter. They inspired Bernini to create spiraling columns of the baldacchino in the current St. Peter's Basilica as well. Some of those corkscrew columns may have been looted by the Romans from the Temple of Herod in Jerusalem. While admiring the superb architecture, chances are you probably looked up in the sky, and if you looked up in the sky, you definitely noticed Michelangelo's dome. The dome was originally designed by Michelangelo, but when he died in 1564, only the round base as far up as the windows had been completed. The construction continued after the death to his plans. The inside paintings, which were painted by others of course, consisted of pictures of Jesus, Mary, a ring of saints, another ring of angels, and the central image of God the Father. The 7-foot-tall words around the bottom of the dome are from Matthew chapter 16 verse 18, when Jesus said to Peter, "You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and to you I will give the keys of the kingdom to heaven." There are 2 levels below St. Peter's Basilica. The first level is known as the Vatican Grottos and is a large underground graveyard where the tombs of 91 popes are currently buried. The level below this is the Vatican Necropolis, which houses the famous St. Peter's tomb. The grottos are located below the level of the current basilica, but above the level of the original Constantinian basilica. They contain a series of chapels that are dedicated to many different saints and tombs of kings and queens, as well as popes from the 10th century and onwards. The Vatican Necropolis is located under the Vatican City at a depth of 5 to 12 meters below St. Peter's Basilica. Major archaeological excavations took place under St. Peter's in the years of 1940 to 1949 with the sponsorship of the Vatican. This excavation work was done at the request of Pope Pius XI, who wanted to be buried very close to Peter the Apostle. St. Peter is believed to have been the first pope. It is said he was martyred in a Roman circus, that his remains were buried at the site of the Vatican. These excavations were done to locate the actual grave of St. Peter, which had been assumed to be under St. Peter's Basilica. Looks like I'm running out of time here, folks, but now that we've toured the whole entire basilica and even got to see the tomb of St. Peter, that's going to conclude this virtual tour. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a wonderful day.